Oh, it is a red letter day here at the Spooky Studio. We're going to talk to the progenitor, the inventor virtually of this format, none other than Mr. Terry Carnation. Next. Hi, everybody. I'm Jim Harold. So glad to be with you once again. And today we have the great white whale himself. And I only mean that in the best way. I've been podcasting on the paranormal for 16 years almost, but I am a mere babe in the woods compared to this man who really invented paranormal talk. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Terry Carnation. He is back with the reincarnation of his show, Dark Air. And may I say, he's tearing up the airwaves. And we're so glad to have him with us today. Mr. Carnation, it is an honor and a privilege to speak with you, sir.
James, the privilege is all yours.
Yes, I agree. You know, what I say is if you find a man who has superior skills with the way he can manipulate and use his microphone, you just have to doff your cap to him.
Well, and I doff my cap to thee. 16 years is not bad, junior paranormal man. I've been at it 32. So
32, wow. Wow. Well, maybe later. So here's a question for you. I got into this by watching Leonard Nimoy in Search Of. I've been interested in the paranormal since I was a little kid, elementary school, back in the 70s, watching Leonard Nimoy. What was the inspiration for you to get into the world of the strange and the unusual?
Excellent question, James. Thank you so much for asking me. And I, too, was a great fan of In Search Of. Anything involving ancient aliens really sparked my imagination. But I'm going to go further back than that. You see, Jim, my connection to the paranormal was did you ever see the movie Ghost Dad with Bill Cosby?
Oh, Bill Cosby. Yes, absolutely. That's a classic, I guess.
Right? He's
exactly.
Like, Cosby's become Voldemort.
Family viewing used to be.
Well, I was raised by a ghost mom, James, to be quite frank. Yes. And it was the darndest thing. The regional lore has it that my mom left with a vacuum cleaner salesman or someone. I don't know what kind of salesman or what kind of job the gentleman had, but that was the rumor around town, and that she passed away soon thereafter. But I know, and I think you know, that I was in fact raised by a spectral mother. And really? For some might scoff, and some might question what kind of a relationship one could have with a spectral maternal presence. And let me assure you that it was a beautiful interaction. She was ghostly, yes, but so it was so intimate, fun. We laughed. We laughed together. We would make blueberry pancakes, and she would fold my laundry. And of course, she didn't have hands. She was spectral. So I would cook the pancakes and I would fold the laundry, but she was right there by my side, talking, laughing, carrying on conversations. And, my therapist at the time, Dr. Schnitzel, mentioned, hallucinations, my father, Terry Carnation Sr., well, he was not pleased and called her my sick little imaginary friend. But there she was, Betty and I, together throughout childhood. And from then on, I knew that my calling was to answer the unanswerable.
Fair enough. I think most people that have an interest in these topics have something very, very much in their youth. And there are many people like us who are deeply interested in this. How does it feel to be kind of the head of Carnation Nation? Millions of followers who really hold this subject matter dear. How do you see your role in that way?
Well, as they say, heavy is the head that wears the crown, Jim. In this case, heavy is the head that wear the earphones. And these earphones actually are quite weighty. The Romanian. But yes, millions of fans, they have great expectations of me. So you referenced it slightly, when I left the airwaves for those 3 dark lost years, and I have subsequently made my return to Dark Air itself, the podcast, which is the same as a radio show. I mean, big diff, right? You talk, there are callers, and people listen to it. There's sponsors,
That's right.
ads.
That's right.
I mean, and give me a break. But the expectations are great. There has been a tremendous amount of support for me coming back from some of those very dark years. My battle with drugs and alcohol, which wasn't really drugs and alcohol. It was just a battle with ayahuasca, just a Peruvian hallucinogenic, which got me through a good solid 9 months of those very dark 3 years after the loss of my wife. And my fans have been incredibly supportive, but oh my goodness, the pressure sometimes, the pressure to perform. Terry, we want you to be insightful. Terry, will you host my wedding? Terry, can I borrow $5,000? Terry, where's my other flip-flop? I don't know. I don't have the answers to all these questions, Jim.
I mean, for me, I view myself as kind of the straw that stirs the drink. I want to help generate the questions. But for me, and I'm a very small podcaster compared to you, but it seems like I don't have the answers. And it's a little frustrating because people will come to me and say, Jim, what is this? What happened? And I say, I don't know what it is. I know something's going on, but it seems like listening to the show, you're a little more comfortable with maybe, and that's from years of experience, in kind of diagnosing situations and giving explanations. There was on the first episode that you did, there was a case of a dog contacting the other side and a concerned owner. And I thought you were very insightful in how you tried to talk them through it. You actually spoke to the dog on air. And I mean, is that something in the evolution of a host that you feel I am confident in providing not only questions, but answers as well?
Harold, that's another excellent question. Listen, you are the straw that stirs the drink. I love that analogy. I love to drink. I love to drink from straws. Who doesn't like a nice straw? In fact,
it's true.
Maybe that's one of the reasons that the world is the way it is right now, is they've taken away straws. I'm not just talking about the laws against plastic straws. I'm talking about everyone should be made to drink from a straw. And it brings back such a childlike sense of fun.
True. True.
I say to myself, I relate as one host of the paranormal to another. I relate. I don't have the answers. I don't have any answers. I see myself as a conversational lubricant. And I just want to spread and spray my lubrication all over the mouths and the ears of anyone and everyone partaking in Dark Air. Just slather it on so that the conversation might flow and we'll see where things go. You know what I mean? But yes, you're referring to a call, yes, on that first episode when I came back, a dog named Kenny,
yes,
appeared to be channeling the ghost of the dead grandfather who had in fact been buried in the backyard and had beaten said dog with a newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
I just put 2 and 2 together, quite frankly. If I can be of service to my listeners, sometimes they rely, and you know what this is like. Sometimes you become a therapist as much as a talk show host. People spill their problems to you. They'll say, Terry, help, my dog is possessed. Or they'll say, Terry, help, my girlfriend is a werewolf. Or they'll say, Terry, what do I do? My boyfriend belittles me at office parties. Should I break up with him? It goes on and on from there. That's one of the reasons I see my horrible therapist, Dr. Norman Kesden, to help give me some balance and perspective, because basically any advice he gives me, I do a complete 180 and do not heed it whatsoever in the slightest manner. Are you in therapy, Harold?
I am not at this time, no. but it always is a possibility. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I am available. I don't have a degree, but I have a great deal of experience, and I would charge you. Well, I'd charge you however much you'd want to pay. I'm a little short right now, so if you wanted to pay me like
whatever the market will bear, right?
27 an hour.
We'll talk about it after the show. After the show, we can talk about it. So all the different paranormal topics, I think you pretty much covered all. Ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, all of it. We do the same thing here. What gets your juices flowing?
Well, besides the ayahuasca, which I referred to previously, I guess what gets my juices flowing is any story, any conundrum that it is filled with so much mystery. It's like the mystery is spilling over. It's like, what was that game, Barrel of Monkeys, where you put the monkeys?
Yes, I remember that. Yes, I remember that. I had it.
You had barrel.
A privileged childhood. I had a barrel full of monkeys. I did.
Now, I'm not talking about stories about monkeys per se.
No, I had the little yellow barrel with the red monkeys. Yes.
It was my father who spoiled me after the loss of my mother. He bought me an actual barrel of monkeys.
Oh, really?
There were spider monkeys. There were bearded capuchin monkeys. It was a nightmare. It was a nightmare. Let me tell you, monkey shit is the absolute worst.
I was about to say, you stole the words out of my mouth, because cleaning up after them would have to be horrible.
Yes. Feeding them, their care, and trying to get them back in the barrel. Once they're out, that's the last place they want to go, is back into that barrel. Anyway, what were we talking about? I love all kinds of stories. I love anything that really piques the imagination and circles the mystery. And the great mystery. Who are we? Why are we here? Why are we alive?
I want to do a quick lightning round of some subjects and get your quick takes on them, because I know your time is limited. You're kind of like Bob Hope on the old Tonight Show. If you remember that.
Yes, I have all the time in the world for you, James.
Okay, so very good, very good. Well, let's talk about a couple of the biggies. What about UFOs? We're seeing the Tic Tac video. We're seeing the recent infrared kind of greenish video with the drones. And it really seems like we're leading towards disclosure. Something seems to have changed. What do you think's going on with the subject of UFOs these days? Do you think that we will soon find out the reality of perhaps aliens?
Well, first of all, what has changed is people who believe in UFOs are no longer the dingle-dangle weirdos. They're no longer the flim-flam cuckoo men. Everyone knows someone who has had some kind of experience with an unidentified flying object. They may have not been, they've not met little grays, perhaps, on the mothership, but there is a lively crowd of people, a vocal crowd of people who very much believe in UFOs. And with the advent of social media, that information has been passed along readily. And finally, the government has seen that it behooves them to start to share some of the information. Some of the information, Jimmy. Some of it. We still don't know about Area 51, and we don't know about the ships that the government has been studying for these last 45 years. We don't know about that. Someday that information will get out. But yes, I absolutely 100% believe in UFOs. Interestingly enough, this last UFO video that you were discussing, the greenish one, the shape of those unidentified flying objects was pyramidal. I don't know if that's a word.
I was wondering about that. But it's very descriptive.
They are
what you mean.
Like, and who made things in a pyramid shape?
The Egyptians.
The Egyptians. Could these UFOs be being flown by Egyptians?
It could very well be. This is an interesting way of looking at it that I've not heard before. Very interesting. I'll move on to another one of the big.
I love Egyptian food, by the way. Have you ever had Egyptian food? It's just delicious. It's
I don't think I've had
food.
I've had Arab food, but I don't know Egyptian specifically. I'm not sure. What's your favorite dish?
It's a little bit spicy. That's an excellent. They make a stuffed grape leaf with camel meat. Yes, it's just the meat from the hump. So it's very
I was about to
moist.
say if you could get over the hump, it would be good.
Oh, I see what you did there. Oh, you're good. Oh, you're
yes,
good.
yeah. I'm doing my best. I'm trying to keep up.
I see why you have taken this on professionally. It was 16 years.
16 years of obscurity. Yes, we're doing our
Gerald.
best. Ghosts. What do you think about ghosts? Do you believe in ghosts? Have you seen a ghost? What are ghosts? What do you have to say about ghosts?
Were you even listening to me? I was raised by a ghost, Gerald.
No, that's right. Good point.
Yes.
See, this is what separates somebody like you, who's been doing this 32 years, to a virtual, amateur
newbie.
such as myself. You actually listen to people when they talk.
Newbie, yes. Well, interestingly enough, you're great. You're great with the quips and the puns. The listening, not so much.
Not so good.
But, yes, my mother has My mother has not left my side in actuality since half iced tea, half lemonade. And she's still no, mother. Right now, I'm live. So ghosts are very much a part of my life on a daily basis.
Now, one that I have a little problem with. Now, I'm not closing the possibility of this. I'm sure you're familiar with the 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film, of that famous film of Bigfoot running through the woods. And some of the stabilized versions of that are actually kind of compelling, and you seem to see some muscle tone. And originally, I always thought it was a guy dressed up in a suit, but once I saw some of that stabilized footage, I think, well, maybe there is something. So I guess I would say I lean towards skepticism on Bigfoot, but I have not closed the door. What do you say about Bigfoot?
What do I say to Bigfoot? I say,
I think you misunderstood the question. That this time you weren't listening. What about Bigfoot? What do you think about? Do you think there really is a Bigfoot?
Oh, absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. I have not only seen so many cryptids. Not only have I seen Bigfoot, not only have I camped out with Bigfoot, I have danced with Sasquatch.
Is he a good dancer?
Dancers. They're exceptional dancers.
Would it be more the Fred Astaire school of dancing, or would it be more modern dance? What do they prefer?
It's a combination between TikTok and a shamanistic ritual. But if the Bigfoot had TikTok, they would get so many hits and so many likes. Just around the fire, and it's an ancient dance, very sexual. There's a tremendous amount of gyration of the Bigfoot pelvis. In fact, the pelvis is really the biggest thing about them. It's bigger than their actual feet. Enormous pelvi.
I won't ask about other attributes.
Please don't. This was an uncomfortable pause.
And now you know the rest of the story.
That's another sign of your ineptitude behind the microphone. I see, Gerald.
Well, thank you. I'm sitting at the feet of the master here and learning today.
Don't sit on the feet of the master.
No, I will not.
Very sensitive toes. Yes.
Exactly. Dark air. I just always wonder, why do you call it dark air?
Well, that's an excellent question. I was going to call it dank air. But my roommate, Bobby Pretzels, suggested that might be redolent of flatulence. So I went with dark air because it's a nighttime AM radio call-in show, now podcast, and there's something mysterious about the air at night. and how dark it is when there's no light. And that's really what darkness is all about, isn't it? The absence of light. So I try and bring some light into the darkness of the air at night.
Just a couple more questions, because again, want to be respectful of your time. What does this mean to you to come back to the airwaves after this absence? I mean, very mysterious. People kind of wondered the death of your wife. Please beg my pardon, as Mike Wallace used to say. But some people say, maybe you had something to do with it. Not me. Beg my pardon. But how does it feel to come back and be vindicated in a great way?
Well, I will ignore the supposition that I had anything to do with the disappearance or potential death of my wife, Zelon. I will, after our jocular conversation of the last 20 minutes, I will forgive you for that imposition, that supposition, that suppository. It feels amazing to be welcomed back by the throngs of Dark Air listeners and to be given the support, the loving support after the loss of dear, beloved Zelon. It's a heartbreak like none other that I've ever experienced. And when you experience a loss like that, it can't help but bleed into, well, I'm going to have to move on. Next question, please.
I understand. Well, finally, Terry, the big question, the important question. I know many people out there have been listening. There may be a few people out there who have not been tuning in. So we want to speak to them. Where, when, and how can they find Dark Air with Terry Carnation?
Well, it's quite simple. It is, as the kids call them today, a podcast, which, by the way, having seen Invasion of the Body Snatchers, there is a connection between pod and podcast.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's worth exploring, isn't it?
Yes.
It's, as they say, downloadable wherever fine podcasts can be found, Spotify, Apple, etc. And you can download it, James, down onto your iPod. And I think that's why they call it a podcast, is because you can put it on your iPod.
Yes.
I have an iPod with over 5 megabytes of memory. I can store something like 47 songs on it.
That's impressive.
Right?
That's impressive.
Yes.
That's, what Steve Jobs was talking about. Yes, it is amazing. Mm-hmm. Just to remember the days of, we're both old enough, 45 records and those kind of things. Or,
right.
LPs, which are back and hot now, but yes, amazing cassettes. Technology.
So it's available everywhere, and it's very similar to an AM radio call-in show, only instead of being broadcast over the AM radio waves, it's simply downloadable onto your iPod.
Very good. Very good. Well, Mr. Carnation, I appreciate it. If you'll hold the line for 1 minute, I have about a minute of business to do with my group here, and then we can talk offline about therapy and all of those different things. Thank you so much.
Excellent.
It has been an honor and a privilege.
The honor and the privilege is all yours.
That is true. And it is my honor and privilege to talk to you. Thank you for tuning in today. I'm Jim Harold, and I hope that you will subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Jim Harold. And of course, the show I've been doing since 2005, the Paranormal Podcast, where we have serious discussions about UFOs, ghosts, and all of that stuff. We'll talk to you next time. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.